We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. MashaAllah, it is, I believe, the 7th day of Ramadan, inshallah, and all of you are fasting. I hope you guys are not too hungry, and inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your amals and all of your du'as and hajat, inshallah. Just a quick reminder to all of you is that this is a live show. We do take in all of your questions. If you have any question you'd like to ask, please send it in via the WhatsApp. The email address ahkamsos@imamhussein.tv, or alternatively give us a call in the studio 0203 515 0199. Inshallah, we'll be able to answer and discuss your questions. I'm your host Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you doing? How's your fast going?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Sheikhna, during Ramadan, without a doubt, many of us will be feeling hungry. Many of us will be feeling thirsty. Why is it that during the month of Ramadan we are forced to remember, and feel the hunger and thirst? Has, the Ahlulbayt, or has Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, have they said anything in regards to the hunger and thirst of Ramadan?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. According to the sermon of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regards to the holy month of Ramadan, he clearly states with this regard, واذكروا بجوعكم وعطشكم فيه جوع يوم القيامة وعطشه. And of course, remember with your hunger, with your thirst while fasting, the hunger and the thirst of the day of judgment, resurrection. It's a good reminder for us. Because don't forget, the day of judgment is a long, long day, a prolonged day. So, one of the reasons or wisdoms in which we are fasting is because of remembering the day of judgment, where the one stands for the hisab, to answer Allah Azza wa Jal for all his deeds, small or big, on that day in which there are different names with regards to the day of judgment, Yawm al-Taghabun, Yawm al-Qiyamah, and so forth. About 25, 26 names in the Holy Quran. So, it is some kind of a warning signal for the believers that, prepare for that day. Make sure that you don't stay on the day of judgment thirsty and hungry because you don't have much deeds. You have lost lots of your hasanat because of your sins, which are heavier than the hasanat and the good deeds. We come to the words of Ahlulbayt alayhi salam, as we mentioned. Imam al-Sadiq salamullah alayh, he states, ألا فحاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا. Do hisab for yourself in this dunya before you have the hisab and the accountability in the day of judgment, the akhirah. Make sure you sit down every day, every night, whenever you can, and think about what you did on that day, on that evening. And if it was a sinful act, you ask Allah's forgiveness and istighfar, that I don't do it again, inshallah. And if you did something good, then praise Allah Azza wa Jal, that may Allah gives you the tawfiq to do it again, and even in a better way and method and form. فإن للقيامة 50 موقفة. The Imam says, سلام الله عليه, there are 50 stations on the day of judgment.
Oh wow.
50 stations. You have to stop at each station and give the hisab. Show your paperwork, in other words. كل موقف مثل 1000 سنة مما تعدون. Every station is 1000 years of what you count. 1000 years, imagine, for every single station. Then the Imam cites this ayah from the Holy Quran. في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة. In a day in which the duration of that day was 50,000 years. Just one day of the Qiyamah and Resurrection Day is 50,000 years. So you want to remain on that day with thousands of years to stand before Allah Azza wa Jal with thirst and hungry? Let's fill it with a'mal as-salihah. This holy month is the best opportunity. Let's start. Even now we have the time to start from now, this moment, by doing istighfar, by repenting to Allah Azza wa Jal, by asking the forgiveness from the believers, from those who we have oppressed, na'udhu billah, maybe, or take the haqq from, to give the haqq back. You got some money from somebody, you borrowed money, you have to basically ask for forgiveness, pay back the haqq to the its owners. So imagine 50,000 years, we have to be very prepared for it. I mean, we usually prepare for a 2 or 3 weeks trip, usually. Months ahead, 6, 7 months, you try to find a cheaper ticket, and then you prepare for your luggage, maybe gifts for family, friends, overseas, and so forth. Akhirah is going to be thousands and thousands of years. We have to prepare for it, at least the Qiyamah, let alone after the Qiyamah. We have to prepare for the Qiyamah. Then the Prophet ﷺ states in his sermon, وَتَصَدَّقُوا عَلَى فُقَرَائِكُمْ وَمَسَاكِينِكُمْ, and pay sadaqah to the poor ones and to those of you who are in need, the needy ones. Again, this month is the best month for paying sadaqah. This holy month in which, mashallah, many organizations, especially the charity in this channel as well, they're offering food baskets, for example. Yes. We try to support them around the world, not only in UK. We try to support whoever is asking for the support for the orphans, those who are in need, fuqara, masakin, aitam, to help them and to save them from such difficult moments, especially the children, who have no proper clothing and food and nutrition. So we try to help them. And of course, the best time in which we can feel the difference between the poor and the rich. The rich can feel the difficulty of this individual who is poor, who has no food. Sometimes people sleep without dinner or wake up without breakfast. Yes. So we try to feel that by fasting, as for the rich people and even for those who are poor as well, who have already been suffering. So it becomes some kind of balance between the poor and the rich. And we have, of course, in the Holy Quran, which says in Surah number 9, verse 109, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. O Rasulullah, take from their wealth sadaqah for 2 reasons, or for 2 results, as a result of paying sadaqah, to purify them, تُطَهِّرُهُمْ, and we spoke about self-purification in the beginning of the days. وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا, and to sanctify them, to give them that, tazkiyah, that the feeling of purity, the feeling of piety and taqwa as a result. So we need to pay sadaqah in order to purify ourselves, like as we take a shower, for example, to clean ourselves externally, but internally also we need to purify it. In the hadith from Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, he mentions that there are 3 things, if you do it and you take it to the hereafter before Allah Azza wa Jal, at least one of them, if you do one of them, this will be the result. ثلاث من أتى الله بواحدة منهن. 3 things, if you do, but one of them at least, if you do them, so there are 3 things, if you just do one of them, and you meet Allah Azza wa Jal in the hereafter with one of these a'mal, not all of them, well, it's better to have all of them, but at least one of them, أوجب الله له الجنة, the Jannah will be wajib for him, obliged to him. What is it? الإنفاق من إقتار, that to give sadaqah, pay help somebody while you are in need and help. You know, we know that, and we've seen that. Who is actually sponsoring and helping and giving in the Arba'in Ziyarah, you know, between Karbala and Najaf and Kadhimiya, Baghdad? Who is actually paying for the cost of the food and drink of it on the way of the Ziyarah of the Mashayikh? Most of it, or many of it, are those who are poor and needy, masakeen. They don't have any means of income. The mother is widow. The children are orphans, and she still cooks for the Zawar, and she has no source of income except I don't know, a buffalo or a cow she had, in which she takes milk and butter and so forth from this animal. So imagine that such giving. The Imam Salamullah said that the Jannah would be wajib for this individual who pays while he has no means of income. He tries in somehow to save to pay for the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Salamullah, for example. He's got no money. He tries to save all the year, for example, few dollars, few pounds, in order to go to the ziyarah. He's one of those with low income. So a great thawab for those who pay sadaqah, specifically in this holy month, and during there, of course, in overall. وتصدقوا على فقرائكم ومساكنكم. Then he says, صلى الله عليه وآله, ووقروا كباركم وارحموا صغاركم. Now, in this holy month, we try to practice more in respecting the elderly ones, those who are older than us. You know, those who are, let's say, 50s, 60s, 70s. We try to respect them because they were. They've just preceded us in Islam and belief and Iman. They, ala kulli hal, have a long history, experience in taqwa and piety and everything. So we try to respect those who are elderly and older than us. وَارْحَمُوا صِغَارَكُمْ. And in turn, we try to have mercy upon those who are younger than us, children. And how do you show mercy? It's not just by buying them a chocolate bar, for example, or crisps. No. A smile, a nice word. Also educating them properly. That pleases Allah Azza wa Jal and Ahlulbayt alayhim salam. In this holy month, we try to teach them Quran. We do a small circle at home. Teach them small surah of the Holy Quran, the last chapter of the Quran. Surah Al-Takathur, Surah Al-Kawthar, Surah Al-Nas, and so forth. And to speak to them nicely, not to smack or beat them. You know, there are hukum with regards to beating and basically harming the children as a means of punishment. We have to know the hukum for it. And of course, when you respect the children in this age, in this way, by pouring your mercy on them, of course, they're going to be very successful individuals in the future. Then the Prophet says, lastly, وَصِلُوا أَرْحَامَكُمْ. And of course, strengthen the ties with your relatives. Very important. Silatul Rahim is important. Is very recommended. To break this tie or this bond is not allowed. So we try, especially in this holy month, to at least visit them, contact them by phone, text message them, and so forth. We try somehow to have some kind of link and connection with our relatives in or out of the country. There's a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "Man masha ila dhi qarabatin binafsihi wa malih." The one who walks to strengthen this relationship and link and tie himself, he walks by himself towards that, let's say, cousin or brother or sister or auntie or uncle, with himself and with his wealth. In other words, if they are poor, he could help them, pay them some money to support them. And of course, the sadaqah, the priority goes to those who are in need of your relatives. And then you give it to others. The hadith says, أَعْطَاهُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ أَجْرَ مِئَةِ شَهِيدٍ. Allah gives them, for the one who is strengthening his ties with his relatives, he walks towards them to their house, for example, to visit them. Allah gives them the ajr and the thawab and the reward of 100 shaheed. Imagine what is the thawab of each shaheed, let alone 100 shaheed. So we try, inshallah, our best to reflect and ponder on this holy month. As mentioned before, that one of the ibadah of Abu Dhar was to reflect and ponder in Allah's creation. So we try to reflect and ponder in this holy month, what can we do the best to offer the best, so we can elevate, so we can reach to the highest levels of perfection. Because Abu Dhar wasn't a prophet who reached this high level of perfection. Salman wasn't a prophet. So we can, but we have to strive and struggle.
Ahsant, Shaykhna, fantastic. Just a quick reminder that we are taking in your questions. If you have any questions you'd like to send in via the WhatsApp, the email address, or give us a call, +44 203 515 0199, and inshallah we'll be able to discuss and answer your questions. Shaykhna, halal meat has always been a big topic of controversy all over the world, especially in non-Muslim countries. According to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, what is the ruling in regards to halal meat coming from Muslim countries? Halal meat coming from Muslim companies, but not Muslim countries, and also halal meat coming from non-Muslim companies from non-Muslim countries.
I mean, the Sayyid puts the issue into two categories. He says if initially the writing is not a hujjah, is not a has any value. Anyone can come and print with a nice label and printing and a sticker that is halal. Anyone can do it, Muslim or non-Muslim. So it has no value. But if this produce was from the Muslims, or in a place where the majority are Muslims, let's say in Birmingham you have lots of butcheries, there are areas of majority Muslims, for example, a slaughterhouse, majority are Muslims, for example, owned by the Muslims. In this situation, and of course you don't know if it's that the producer is a non-Muslim, because the majority are Muslims, then of course it's permissible to eat and consume from that halal meat. But if the producer was a non-Muslim, that's the issue. That's the issue. Or the Muslims are the minority, majority are non-Muslims in that city, in that country, and it's not known that the producer is a Muslim, then of course you're not allowed to consume it. You have to make sure that you're receiving this meat from a Muslim. That's very important. That's halal, of course.
Yes.
That's important. That's the criteria.
Shaykhna, with slaughtering an animal, now one of the criteria is to take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while you're slaughtering. What if you say the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but not with the intention of slaughtering, with another intention? Maybe you got scared, maybe the animal was moving or something like that, or for another reason. Is the meat still considered halal?
It seems to be that the animal would not be tahir or halal. You have to make sure that you have the intention of slaughtering. Sometimes I say Bismillah in general, anything I do, I read, I start to, let's say, work, I say Bismillah. Maybe I want to slaughter this animal for the animal test purposes that some companies do, for example. So I just say Bismillah and overall, but I don't have any intention to slaughter in the halal way and give it to for example, to the Muslims to consume. So it is a problem with this meat, of course. We have to avoid it. Yes.
Shaykhna, with like making halal meat, it's not only for us to eat and consume, but also for us to use the skin and the leather, for like belts and wallets and so forth. So if I'm praying salah and it has come to my attention after I finished later on that the belt I was wearing was not from an animal slaughtered in the halal way, or my wallets in my pockets, or another item, my wristwatch and anything that I was wearing during salah time was leather, not from a halal slaughtered animal, do I have to repeat my salah?
You see, when you are wearing the belt from the skin of the haram animal, or non-halal animal, then you have to make sure that you take off straight away in the salah. When you remember, you take off the belt or the wallet.
So you pause for a second.
Yeah, exactly, and then you throw away on the floor, and then you continue the salah, and the salah is valid, inshallah. There's no issue with that. Yeah.
I see. Shaykhna, according to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, in the night of Qadr, is it sufficient to place over the head some chapters of the Holy Quran, or we should put the whole Quran?
His Eminence mentions that what is mentioned is to put the Holy Quran on the head.
Okay, the whole of the
So
Quran.
the whole Quran. So
That's
exactly.
recommended. I see.
But in overall, I mean, it's not wajib, but in overall you can. I mean, but ala kulli hal, we follow what has been mentioned. That to put the whole Quran. I know some Qurans, the books are heavy, but you try to get the small versions and the small books, and you put on your head.
Shaykhna, is it permissible for those who have their reasons not to fast to openly eat in public during the month of Ramadan? Doesn't that constitute breaching the sanctity of the holy month?
You see, if that constitutes breaching the sanctity of this holy month, then it's not permissible.
Okay.
We have to respect the sanctity of being fasting in the state of fast. So even if I'm ill or traveler, in which I'm allowed to break my fast, but I have to respect the environment of fasting, the atmosphere of fasting, the outside, the outdoor, environment in which people are walking, working, going, coming. I have to respect it, and not to break this sanctity.
Shaykhna, if one vows to fast on a certain day, then does this fast become wajib upon him?
Yes, of course. If the nadr is shar'i, let's say he says lillahi alayya, that if this happens to fast on a particular day, then it becomes wajib. And if he doesn't fulfill his nadr, of course, he would liable to the kafara as well as the qada of that day. So kafara and qada.
I see. Shaykh, a question from one of our viewers, and it is it necessary to mention the niyyah for fasting verbally with the opinion of His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani?
The Sayyid mentions, and even other maraja' in overall, that you don't have to mention the intention. أصوم, for example, غدا اليوم السابع مثلا قربة الله تعالى. You just keep it in your mind. To be in your mind that you are intending to fast the next day. That should be fine. It's just keep it in your mind.
Shaykhna, another question from one of our viewers, and that is that there are mustahab fasts for each month. What or which days are they?
Yeah, basically, fasting the Thursday of the beginning of the month, and the Thursday of the last of the month.
The first Thursday and the last
of
Thursday.
lunar of the Hijri,
exactly. The lunar month.
Islamic calendar.
I see.
And of course, to fast the Wednesday in the middle. So after the 10th day of the month, when it comes Wednesday, you fast as well. So you have the first, middle, and the last.
There's something also in regards to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alayhi used to fast the Mondays and Thursdays twice a week, or something I've heard as well. Inshallah, may Allah accept all of the amans. Question from the WhatsApp, Shaykhna. An individual was janoob in the night of month of Ramadan and made the intention to wake up before Fajr time, but slept until Adhan Fajr was called. Is his fast valid?
According to this scenario, yes, his fast is valid. There's no issue with it.
Okay.
Yes, inshallah.
Inshallah. And finally, Shaykhna, while we were here, I've been sent another question. If you bear with me, I'll put it up. And it is Assalamu alaikum. Dear brothers, Ramadan Mubarak. I would like to ask in regards to tattoos on the hands and on the arms, is this permissible? So tattoos, let's say tattoos in general, as I am aware of, Shaykhna, the popular opinion is that tattoos are permissible and they don't provoke water penetrating the skin in terms of they're not an obstacle for wudu or ghusl or anything like that. But however, there are some maraja who differ. But I think the popular opinion is there's no issues with it. Correct?
Yes, indeed, as you've said, it is permissible. However, the advice is to try to avoid it. I mean, I remember I was in the blessed haram of Imam Ramadan alayhi salam couple of years, and a group of youth came to me, and they said to me, Sheikh, shall we wear tattoo on our body? I said to them, a day might come that you might regret when you grow up. You get married, and the missus doesn't like the tattoo on your body. So the advice is to avoid it if you can. It's better. But in overall, it is allowed.
We've got some more questions here, Sheikhna, before we finish. Aslam had a quick question. We get tax cut from our paycheck every month, which goes towards the welfare program of the unprivileged. Does that also count as sadaqah already taken out of my paycheck? So I think they're talking about in regards to national insurance, which goes towards helping people unemployed, school education, and so forth. Can you use that as sadaqah? Can you change the niyyah?
The hadith says, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. So whatever you do is based on your intention. So if you have a good intention, make the intention of good, inshallah, that would be counted, inshallah.
Okay. Another question I have is, I'm traveling to work, which is 2-hour round trip. Is my rosa still valid? Okay, so traveling to work, this 2-hour trip, that doesn't say much about the distance, unfortunately. But Sheikhna, as far as I know, if it is a regular trip for work, which you do quite often, then yes, you have to keep the fast.
Exactly, he keeps the fast and his salah will be full as well. So he prays fully and fast as well.
Okay. I would like some clarity of the rules of the traveller with regards to one's hometown. For example, my wife and I live 2 hours apart from our families. When I visit my parents, who resides in the same city and home I grew up in, am I or my wife considered travellers? Similarly, if the ruling's the same when we visit her parents. Okay, so from what I understand from this question, Sheikhna, let's say you've got a husband who's from Birmingham and the wife is from Leicester. They both live in London now. So when they go back to visit their families, the wife visits in Leicester and then the husband goes visits in Birmingham. Are they going home or are they traveling now?
Well, depends really. Have they rejected and neglected their first hometown? Because now they have a second hometown, which is London.
Yes.
They call it i'rad. Have they made this i'rad or in somehow terminated their intention in terms of being as a first hometown? Because it happens a lot. You might do i'rad and terminate your first homeland and leave it, khalas, and you come to the UK, for example. That's your only hometown and your watan, that's it. So it depends. They have to go back and see if they still have connection in terms of being the first hometown.
Yes.
In this case, they still pray full and fast as well, because that's hometown. Like of many brothers who, let's say, go and come from their own countries, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan. Nice. They consider those countries are their first hometown. So they pray full and fast as well when they go there. And UK or the Europe or the America is their second hometown. So it depends really. It depends how you want to consider the things.
Sheikhna, question in regards to the night prayer, Salat al-Layl. According to His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi in his Risala Amaliyah, his Islamic laws, what is meant by the word one salam? I've got the actual paragraph here. The night prayer is 11 rak'ah, 8 rak'ah on the night prayer, 2 al-Shafi prayer, and 1 rak'ah al-Witr prayer. Every 2 rak'ah is performed with 1 salam, with the exception of the Witr, which is 1 rak'ah with 1 salam. The time of the night prayer is between midnight and the break of Fajr. What is meant by 1 salam here?
It still seems to be, from what I understand, that you don't continue the salah 8 rak'ah continuously. So there's a salam between each 2 rak'ah.
Okay, to break up into 2.
Yes, yes, 2, 2, that's 8. And then you have 2 shafi', and then 1, which is the witr.
We have more questions, Sheikhna. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Ramadan Mubarak to you. May Allah bless your soul for the teaching. You inspired me. Mentioned the name, which I'm not going to mention. My question is about adoption. Is it allowed for me to adopt in Islam? And if so, is the adopted girl halal to my husband? And is the adopted boy halal to myself?
I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. And Ayatollah Sistani had an opinion about this, that you have to make sure that you don't risk this child with you as your own child, because sometimes paperwork comes within the needed, and then the problem is that when you after let's say a couple of years You may not be able to distinguish if this individual is your son or he's not your son, for example, because the paperwork say he's your son. So you have to make sure that you declare that he's not your son somehow. It's just adopted. And when he or she reaches the age of adolescence and puberty, and bulugh, the wife should cover from the boy, and the husband should cover. The girl should cover from the husband, the adopted girl. So it's a bit complex mas'ala, but the one should ask and always be in touch with the alim to make sure they don't fall in haram.
I have more questions, Shaykhna, with your permission, if I may continue. Assalamu alaikum. I have a question about Ziyarat Ashura. Yesterday, my son asked me about it and why we have to do la'an, but I couldn't persuade him. So please, can you mention this ziyarah in one of your lectures, inshallah?
Basically, we have wilaya and bara'ah as a belief, as a aqeedah, to follow and pursue and believe in the Allah's messengers and vicegerents, and to reject and denounce the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal, like Fir'aun.
Ahsant.
Inna Fir'auna tagha, and so forth. The Quran rejects Fir'aun.
Yes.
And speaks against him. So we have to also show this wilaya and bara'ah. They're wajib.
Same with Abu Lahab.
Exactly. And Ziyarat Ashura is part of it. Who killed Imam Hussein?
Yes.
وَلَعْنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً قَتَلَتْكَ. The ummah in which killed you. They are cursed. They are damned, of course. They deserve it.
Ahsant. Ahsant. Shaykhna, another question. I invest in stock exchange. I want to know if Shia school of thought allows future stock trading, intertrading, and short selling. From what I know, Shaykh, stock exchange is okay. You need to actually investigate the company to see if they do gambling or they sell alcohol,
for example,
or things like that and so forth.
Exactly.
And yeah, whether you are going long or short is not a problem. This is a good one, Shaykhna. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum, hope you're doing well. I have a question about smoking weed, cannabis, and I was hoping you could answer my question. Is it haram or is it makruh? Do the Maraja have different opinions on it, or do they all have same fatwa of smoking weed? Looking forward to your response. Brother or sister, we actually have a documentary being aired today in regards to cannabis. Inshallah, a lot of your questions will be answered in that documentary. Shaykhna, would you like to answer this, or would you prefer them to refer to the documentary?
Overall, the drugs are haram to consume, haram. But for medical purposes, then there's a fatwa and shari issue with that. Yeah, so.
Inshallah, the Chronic Cure will be airing on Imam Hussein TV 3 at 9:30 London time this evening, inshallah. As we come to the end of the show, maybe I can give two questions. Assalamu alaikum, I have a question regarding salah. Sometimes because of sweat or water from the wudu, we are coming out of sajda. The sajda may stick to my forehead and fall down. As it is falling down, am I allowed to catch it? Thank you. So the total bar, sometimes it gets stuck on the forehead and so forth, and then it falls off. Am I allowed to catch it or anything?
Yes, I mean, it should be fine. Just remove it and put it on the ground. That's fine. It's just to things happen. I mean, usually when you are in summertime, for example, you're sweating. It should be fine.
Inshallah. Shaykhna, thank you so much for all your efforts and so forth, and thank you for answering all of the questions. Thank you to all of you for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. If you have a question, you can send it in via the WhatsApp. Mashallah, towards the end of the show, we've got so many coming through. Send it via the WhatsApp. Email address ahkamsos@imamhussein.tv, or alternatively, give us a call, +44 203 515 0199. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer all of your questions. In the meantime, please remember us in your dua. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept all your amal, accept all of your hajat, inshallah. We will be back, myself and the Sheikh, tomorrow at 6 o'clock here on Imam Hussein TV 3. Join us then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.